Since there will not be a chair or vice chair attending this meeting, I would like to entertain a motion to appoint someone as chair pro tem.
I make a motion to appoint Mr. Edmonds as chairman pro tem.
I second it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay,
I will
thank
now
you.
pass the gavel to Mr. Jack Edmonds for the remainder of this meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
Okay. I think the first thing we're gonna do, should I just swear Paul in too, right?
Yes, so yeah, if you just want to welcome Paul, and there's the oath that we do.
Our first action would be to welcome our new commissioner, Mr. Paul Whitcomb. And I guess you gotta raise your right hand. Okay,
I, Paul Whitcomb,
do solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States.
do solemnly
Go ahead.
swear to support the Constitution of the United States,
The Constitution of the State of
the
Minnesota,
Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and to discharge and faithfully
to discharge and faithfully
the duties of the office of Princeton Public Utility Commissioner, City of Princeton, Minnesota, to the best of my judgment and ability.
yeah.
Congratulations and welcome.
Faithfully the duties of the office of Princeton Public Utilities Commissioner of the City of Princeton, Minnesota, to the best of my judgment and ability.
Hey,
Hey,
thanks,
welcome.
Paul. Welcome. So if you could just sign and take
Yep.
that for me, for everything.
Okay. First order of business will be to appoint a chair for the 2024 calendar year. And I will make the motion to appoint Dan Whitcomb as the chair.
Dan Erickson.
Erickson.
Or Dan, I'm Dan Erickson. I'm okay. Dan Erickson as the 2024 chair for the Public Utilities Commission.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Sir, if I may, just for a discussion point, I just want to share that I did talk to Dan, and he is accepting of that if that's what the commission decided
Yeah,
today.
and I guess.
I just want to say, since he's not here, I just
Sure,
want to,
right.
we're not just railroading him, I mean.
And I don't know what the process, but you can speak for Dan where necessary, is that appropriate? I don't know exactly how we want.
I did just kind of walk through the logistics of the meeting, and he did give me some thoughts to share with the commission on points, and one of them is that he is interested in chair and would accept the nomination if offered. So,
Okay, and then, yeah, I guess I'm okay with that, if you are.
Aye.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to appoint Dan Erickson as the chair. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that carries. And we need to appoint a vice chair,
I make a motion to appoint Jack Edmonds as vice chair.
and I'll second that. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, so that carries. Okay, got that out of the way. Approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Okay, and I'll second that. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Public comment. We only have one. Nothing, Jim? You have anything, Keith?
I do not, sir, no.
Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Would anybody wish to pull anything off of the consent agenda? And I do not. Any of the staff or anybody?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
And I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Okay, let's move on to reports. Now, Paul being new here, the format we adapted here, I don't know, last summer sometime, the reports are published, and I would guess you've had a chance to read them.
Yep.
They used to do them verbally, but and now what we do is they print them, and then we can question. If we have any questions, or if anybody has anything to add, they certainly can at this time.
But yes, otherwise they're just considered updates to the commission on current activities of the utility.
Okay, anybody have anything? Hearing that's not action, right? That's just
No, that's just
FYI.
reports, so.
Okay, we will move on to just updates, I guess. Is that next? Yep.
Oh, that's actually a typo for me. I don't have anything for updates. So we can just move on beyond that unless anybody has anything to say. That wasn't my intention to have that in there.
Okay, we will move on to the regular agenda. Item A, 2024 lead service line replacement project.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I could take that to the right one. So memorandum 2404 in your packets is regarding a lead service line replacement project. The memo details some background just to remind everybody kind of how this all developed. But back in 2022, with the support of the commission, we started working on a grant application from the Minnesota Department of Health to replace all remaining galvanized service lines within the Princeton water service territory. We estimate that to be around 50 or 60 based on the inventory work that Scott and his crew have done. It's, again, working through a state grant process. It can take time. So you can see some of the main milestones that we approached, that we've taken care of since then in working to secure that grant funding. Ultimately, in June of last year, we were notified that we did get project certification for our proposal. We did have to submit a couple more project details to the Drinking Water Revolving Fund, but then in December, when the fiscal year 2024 intended use plans came out, we learned that our project was successful in securing $600,000 in funding. So since then, WSB and the utility have been putting together a work scope for 2024 to utilize that funding. It is expected that that funding would fully fund the replacement of those 50 to 60 service lines. It's actually a little, the way WSB described it to me is, I guess it's state government, it's always awkward. There's a $300,000 grant and then a $300,000 loan, which then has another grant associated with it that will be able to be applied before the first payment on the loan is ever made. WSB is going to work through all the logistics of that. At the end of the day, it's $600,000 in state funding that we are receiving. Once that's complete, and we intend to have that done this year, that would mean that there are no other galvanized service lines in this community. We are lead-free at that point, and I don't know if you see on the news every once in a while where you hear of major cities dealing with lead problems. You can rest assured that we don't have that issue here anymore. So what's attached is a work scope from WSB that fits in with the grant application. Scott has been working very closely with John Christensen and Jennifer Edison over at WSB on putting all of this together with their expected costs for the implementation of the project and their allocations. But again, the whole intent is to complete that during this construction season, which WSB feels that is reasonable to do. With that, Scott, I don't know if you want to add anything else regarding this project?
No, I mean, our service rules are helping on this for the ownership end of it, as where that is laid out, where it's completely customer owned. There's other areas that run into having to fund higher portion of this project. So then, like our biggest one is the galvanized with the lead adapter at the main is our biggest area we're going after. We don't have any straight lead piping all the way from house to the deal. We have it's a couple foot or foot and a half adapter in between there. That's our big one.
It's usually that gooseneck, right?
Yeah,
that comes off the corpse
off the main is the one, and then the galvanized line falls into the replacement because of that being in there. So
yeah,
we've inventoried. We've got a few left that we haven't got into yet, just haven't been able to get access to, but everything that we've been able to identify, we've got noted and will be on schedule for replacement.
So given the project size and scope, We will be going through a bid process for all of this, so WSB will be working on that, which means we'll have a formal bid notification and bid opening, just like we did with the cap plan last year.
Yeah. That was kind of my next question, if we were gonna do it in-house or if we were gonna contract it.
The state has a lot of rules. So it's one of the nice things with WSB is they're taking care of all sorts of reporting requirements, both in terms of how the material is sourced, as well as labor costs, and then the tracking of everything. So there's a lot of paperwork to put together, but that's included in WSB's engineering fees.
It was not eligible for us to do ourselves.
Oh, okay.
We did investigate into that, and the funding was not available at that point.
Yeah, and it's because there's a lot of other requirements.
So, but we have all these services identified that need to be replaced?
Yes.
Okay, and that's no, I mean, it's not a either or, or it is an either or, they do it, or they don't have an option, the homeowners, or?
Well,
I'm not saying they should have it.
yeah, it gets to a point where it's an identified issue through the Department of Health. We have done the work behind the scenes to come up with a fully funded grant program, so there's no out-of-pocket for the homeowner.
Okay.
So we're hoping that is enough to encourage people to do it, because they're getting a free service line that they don't have to pay anything for. Ultimately,
that would be the kicker, I'm sure.
yeah, ultimately, if somebody chooses not to, there would be risk and liabilities that we would have to assess at that point. But this is why we worked really hard to make it no out of pocket, so that hopefully we don't really run into that issue.
So it would appear we need action.
I am requesting a motion to approve the project work scope as presented in memo 24-04.
I'll make that a motion.
Second it. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, preliminary financials, memo 24-05.
Yes, Mr. Vice Chair. I'll take this one as well. I felt it was important that as we finished off and did, Kathy's been doing all of her year-end activities on the accounting side to provide a preliminary report to the commission. These are unaudited numbers. The audits will occur here over the next few months. We typically present the audit in May-ish, the time frame, so that it gets done in time for it to be included in the city's audit. As background information, and some of this is for Paul, just to help give you some background as well. We do have some fiscal policies in place regarding working capital, our CIF, our Capital Improvements Fund, in terms of dollar amounts that we try to stay within, and our rate stabilization account, which is an electric only. And you can kind of see where we've established, or I should say the commission has established minimums and maximums. As I pulled up the data as of December 31st, you can see in the table the fund balances for each to show that we're staying within the requirements of our fiscal policy. As you look at the electric stuff, there is a couple of things that I would like to point out. We are meeting all of the commission's goals. In anticipation of some large capital expenses as defined in the CAP plan that we've discussed earlier, I would recommend, since we're above that 180 mark, to transfer $165,877 into the rate stabilization account. That will fully fund the rate stabilization fund, and the reason I'm recommending that is because we are essentially going to deplete that fund during the CAP plan. Probably around phase 2 is when we're going to buy a lot of that down. So what I'm doing is I'm saving some of the money that we have now. So when those major capital expenses come in, we can fund that and minimize any rate impacts that would have to happen at that time. So just trying to do some proper planning and reserving those funds for that upcoming activity.
And that would have an effect on any bonding we would have to do or have done already, or in the future, I suppose, maybe, or?
Everything's still going according to plan. We are anticipating some bonding in phase 2. The amount is going to be a factor of things like cash reserves. It's also going to be a factor of supply side costs and things like that. When the time comes, working with DGR and George Eilertson, his firm, we'll figure out the exact bonding amount at that time. But yes, generally speaking, the more money we could save up now, hopefully the less we would have to bond to in the future. So
It still leaves us with our cash days on hand in excess of our policies. So
that is
a few
correct.
days. It's close, but it's a few days.
Correct. So if we transferred that approximately 166,000 from cash reserves to rate stabilization, that would lower the cash reserves to $3.332 million, dropping our days of cash on hand from 193 to 187. I wonder if I got that right. It does drop it a little bit. That still, like you mentioned, still keeps us above the kind of aspirational goal of staying above 180 days. Since we continue to remain above that, again, as of December 31st, looking at the balances, staff is also proposing that the utility transfer $54,554 to the city of Princeton. I calculated that using a mill rate of 1 mil per kilowatt hour sold in 2023. If the commission recalls, a few years back, we were looking at trying to meet certain established financial goals for the commission. I'm proud to say I think we've accomplished all of those goals. And we're in a position where things are progressing really well. Things are on a good path. And, you know, as part of the city, to do a financial transfer to the city seems to be a reasonable request in our mind. So that's based off these end of year numbers. That would then decrease our cash reserve to about 3.28 million, which is 184 days. So we still maintain the 180 day metric for 2023. So ultimately, let me just finish off by talking about the water side. The water department is anticipating at least 2 or 3 major projects within the next 1 to 5 years that will require significant resources. I'm anticipating that those projects will be paid for with cash, eliminating the need for additional borrowing. However, both funds will continue to grow, hence the reason why we do reduce water rates for this year. So just so you can see how they're all kind of interacting with each other. With the upcoming expenses plus ongoing inflationary pressures and those proposed rate reductions, my expectation is those fund balances will start to moderate. So on the water side, I'm not recommending that we need to do any rebalancing of the funds. So staff's recommendation is all included in Memorandum 2405, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Well, it certainly speaks to what I would call a very, very, very successful operation.
Thank you.
And I would like to take my hat off to our leaders, Michelle and Keith, who are putting this together. I realize she's busy.
Anything to do with it.
You played a part. No. So, yeah, and I mean, my recommendation is that we, you know, how do you want me to word it?
You could just say, you could just say a motion to approve Memorandum 2405's recommendations. I will, again, if I may interject, Dan and I did talk about this. He is also in support of it as well.
Yeah, okay. That's good to know.
His suggestion, and this is more of a conversation maybe for Michelle, is he really would like to see that transfer be used for something like helping you pay the expenses on the new business park or infrastructure or, you know, something to economic development, things like that. That's just something he wanted to share as an intention of his, but he is supportive of the memo.
Yeah, and I guess I would assume that when it gets there, we can't dictate what they do. We can recommend or suggest or whatever. So.
Well, just
And
speaking
I gotta
from a
put my
budgetary
other hat on
standpoint,
then.
you know,
Well, I'm sure it'll be put to good use. I have no doubt about that.
well, I mean, we do have streets to take care of, so, and we have a significant expenditure in that particular fund, but you are right, Commissioner Edmonds, that ultimately the council will direct me where the money needs to go.
Yeah. But he just wanted to share his perspective on it.
And again, I'll just speak to it. I like having a link, whether if you want to call it a pilot, that's fine. I don't care. Call it anything you want to. I don't care. But to have a link or I don't know, a function or a nexus to determine, because this, can it happen next year? I don't know. Can it be more or less? Or we don't know that, but it's something that I think Michelle and Keith, I totally trust them to work it out myself, so.
And
It'd be wonderful. Keep it in mind, we have to keep our criteria here, like the 180 days and whatever. So.
yeah. And if the commission desires that, I'm sure Michelle and I could work on putting a proposal together for establishing some sort of methodology for the
I think
commission
that's a
to
good idea.
evaluate.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm sure I would, I don't want to speak for Dan, but I can't imagine he wouldn't support
Yeah.
that. Okay, I'll make the motion then to approve memo 24-05. Is that what we're looking at?
Yep.
And I'll second that.
Okay, if there's no more discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes. Thank you. Okay, 5-member commission discussion.
Mr. Vice Chair, if I may, per the last meeting, it was requested that this be placed on the regular agenda. I have nothing to present at this time on this issue, so it's for a commission discussion, wherever you want to go with it.
Well, I'm going to speak first. This has come up in the past. Personally, I was open to it, and I probably still am today. The difference between then and now is, for me, is I don't think the timing is, I mean, let's face it, we've got some issues at the city, and then they're really, I mean, everything is running so smooth now. It's, as is witness our last agenda item, you know, the place runs like a Swiss watch. I mean, I see no need to pursue it at this time anyway. Not saying it can't be brought up down the road sometime, but.
And I think at this point in time, I don't believe we're big enough to have a 5-commission board. Somewhere down the road, I hope the city grows and the PUC grows its customers. And at that point, maybe it's worth looking at, but we're just over 5,000 now. I think we can wait a little while on this.
Okay, one more thing I was gonna add to is, this year being a little bit of an exception, it hasn't been easy seating people on our commissions and our boards, and now we had an exception with the park board this year. We actually had 6 applicants for 3 positions, but that's a rarity. That's not a regular thing. Usually we have a hard time getting even enough applicants to fill the vacancies. I would go out on a limb and say I don't know if we could even seat 5 people right now, and that's just an opinion. So, are we looking?
I'm not-
action on that, or
It's a discussion item, so it's
Okay.
whatever the commission wants to do.
Did Mr. Erickson have any input on that, or?
His comments to me was he's not adamantly opposed to it. He would want to know what, I'm trying to remember his exact words. The impression I got was, wants to know what problem we're trying to fix. What's the purpose in going to 5? It's not being accomplished by 3. Conversations like that is what he would want to have. So he would, again, the impression I got from him is he would need to have an argument made of why it's necessary.
Yeah, and I guess I could share that myself. All right, if there's any more, no more discussion on it, so we're not passing, it's just,
No.
it's in the minutes, that we,
Yep. No, you can just go on to the next item
Okay.
if you desire.
looks like the last item here is, there's gonna be a conflict for the March meeting. Because of what?
Yes, Mr. Vice Chair. The scheduled March commission meeting is for Wednesday, March 27th. I received notification, a couple weeks ago that MMUA has shifted their legislative conference to the 26th and 27th of, did I say May? March. To the 26th and 27th of March. It's a good opportunity. I did it last year. To meet with our elected representatives. There's a lot of activity going on at the state legislature as it pertains to electric and water utilities. It's a good way to get our voices heard. So I think my attendance does have value in being here. And in order for me to attend it, I am requesting that we move the March commission meeting. I talked with Mr. Erickson. He is fine moving it a week prior, but he would prefer to move it to Thursday, March 21st, at 1 p.m., your typical time. So that's his suggestion. Otherwise, he is flexible from the 21st on if you wanted to do a Friday. But his initial, his response to me was the 21st would work out very well for him, the Thursday prior to the regular scheduled meeting.
Yeah, I'm totally open for the move.
Yeah,
As
March
long as I
20th.
know, as long as I know.
Yep,
before.
March 21st works for me too.
Okay, so if that's acceptable, I would just need a motion to move the March meeting to the 21st at 1 p.m.
I'll go ahead and I'll make the motion to move the March meeting to the 21st, which is on a Thursday, you said?
Correct.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Second?
Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye. Okay, that carries. Well, that appears to be it.
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
I second that. And we are adjourned.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.